Now that we're keeping track of our current level and our score and our health all in one unified location, it means that we're able to save our game. To do this, I'm going to add a new function into our game state script called save game. And the first thing I'm going to have inside this function is a variable which I can save into a file every time I want to save the game. I'm going to call this variable save data, and it's going to be a dictionary. You may have come across dictionaries in Python. They're a place where we can store heaps of different values all in the one variable. So the first one I'll store will be called level, and I'll set that to my current level variable. And the next value I'll store will be my score, and I'll set that to my score variable. And then you can kind of choose whether or not you also want to save the player's current health and the player's amount of keys that they have. I'm going to stick to just saving the level and the score for now. Next, I'm going to open a new file on my player's computer, and I can do this by writing var file equals fileaccess.open. And then I write the path to the file. But in Godot, you've probably noticed that most of the files that are part of the current game start with res for resource. Well, if we want to access a file that's not part of the current game, then there's another nice location where we can save these files, and that's user : and a couple of slashes. So that special folder location will actually be in our app data. I'll show you where that is in a second. And we're going to save this as save.json, JSON. And I'll explain why that is in a second as well. The final thing to add to fileaccess.open is that in this case we're doing fileaccess.write. Now when we load the file later, we'll be doing fileaccess.read. Finally, we save this save data variable into this file by writing file.store var save data. And that should save a file called save.json into our app data folder anytime that we call the save game function. For now, let's call that save game function every time I change levels. So I'll add into my next level function save game, and anytime I go through a door and the next level function runs, then it will also run my save game function, and we should see this file show up in app data. Now let's run the game to find out, and go through a door to save the game. Open, go through the door, and what I should now see is I can go to my file system and type in %appdata%. And this will take me to the app data folder on my computer, which stores all sorts of data about all my different apps, including Godot. So there's a Godot folder. I can go into Godot, I can go into app user data, and then I should see a folder for this game that I've been making, which is named Sandbox. So the folder is called Sandbox. And inside that folder, I've got my new file called save.json, because that's the name I gave to the file when we were saving it through Godot. I can try to open this save.json with VS Code, but it says that it's not supported because it's not actually a text file at the moment. If I try to open it anyway with my text editor, you'll see it's just full of binary junk. I can kind of see the word level and score hanging out there, but it's not very easy for me to read as a human. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save it in a slightly nicer format so that we can read the contents of that file. The name of this file format is JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation, but really it's exactly the same format as Python dictionaries as well. We just don't tend to call this file type Python dictionary format because PDF was already taken. We tend to call it JavaScript Object Notation. And the way we save something as JavaScript Object Notation is that instead of writing file store var, we write file.store string, and we convert our save data into JSON by writing json.stringify save data. So this still will save to the same location, but it will save it as a string that looks an awful lot like this Python dictionary. Let's play our game again and go through a door. And what we should see if we now close this down and go to our save.json file is that it opens immediately as text, and inside it's basically just got our Python dictionary stored with what level we're on and what score we have. Now we can write the exact same function in reverse and call it load game. So write func load game. And this one's going to start by opening the file with file access.open user save.json and file access.read. Then we're going to get back our save data by doing json.parseString file.get as text. If you were not storing this as JSON and you were just storing the variable, then what you could have written is save data equals file.getVar. Now we'd use that save data to restore our current level by setting it to save data.level and restore our score by setting it to save data.score, and then restarting this level because we will want to use that new current level that we've set. So that's our load game function, and we'll do something nicer with this function in the next video, but for now let's just bring back our ready function underscore ready, and we'll load the game when our game state script first loads. Now when we play the game again, we should see that it loads that script and starts me in level 2. And if I get a point or two of score and then swap levels again, I should be able to save my score of 4 into the script. It'll save that my score is 4 and I'm on level 1. I'll hit play and it will send me back to level 1 with a score of 4. I do also notice that when the score loads in, it's loading with a 0.0 at the end of it, so we can fix that up quickly by setting snapped save data.score to the nearest 1, and then it will load it back in as an integer. So if we play this one more time, we should see that I start on level 1 with a score of 4 and no 0.0. That looks like a pretty nice save system to me. But you probably also want someone to be able to play your game even if they've never played it before, so in that case we're just going to check before we first load our game that the file actually exists by writing if file access.fileExists user save.json, and we can test that out by quickly deleting our save.json file. We'll delete this file, and the game should still play fine because first it checks that the file exists before loading the game, otherwise it just doesn't load the game and it will start us from the start. So here I am at the start of the game with no save file, but if I then get a few points and go to the next level, I should now start the game at 15 points on level 2. Everything's working nicely. There's our save system in Godot.